Okay, so now for the final piece, we have gone into appearance and customize in the previous video and gone through those basic theme settings. And now we're going to jump into using the Beaver Builder plugin on the front of the site. So essentially all you need to do is go to the front of the site. In this case we're at localhost 8888, but that's just because we're using MAMP. If you didn't watch the other videos, the one thing I should probably mention is over here under settings reading, I set the home page to be the MAMP home page, and I set the blog page to be our awesome blog. So I've already set those two things up, which is why when I go to the home page, we're just seeing the MAMP home page. If I go to the blog, you'll see that now we can see the blog post, which is the default. And I also think that if you watched that first video where we did the theme highlight color, I believe it was. I believe that's why this stuff is all orange. So the comment is orange, the author name is orange, the read more. I think that's because we chose that orange back over there. So that's why you're seeing that. So anyway, let's go to the home page. So now we have, I've already gone through the initial setup of the theme with the child theme. We've gone through the appearance customize to do the regular customizer stuff that comes with the Beaver Builder theme. And then now we're on the home page. So the very first thing I do is I click on Beaver Builder, which is what gets you into the page builder editor. And then what will happen is it will give me the option to just start building a page. But what I would recommend that you do ahead of time, because if you move your mouse around, you can just see this is a text block that I've already kind of thrown in there, so you can start adding things. But what I would do first is click on this drop down and choose global settings. What will typically happen, by the way, is it will show up like this. It'll show up very small. So just know that you can always resize all of these module things, which I find a lot handier to work with. So all I'm really looking at is what this is controlling is now that we're going to be on the page and building content, that's what this is controlling. If you remember in that previous video, I didn't really pay much attention to the content width because I know that this is going to override it. So this will be a different number when you first do it. I think it's 1024, maybe even 1020. I have started setting my max width, my max content width to 1280. And then I typically always leave my default row width as full width. You can set it to 1280, but then that will box your entire website. What is very common now with a lot of the designs that I mess with is it'll be a color background all the way to the end of the viewport, and then the content itself is contained in a container inside of that. So people like to have images go all the way to the end on a slider or something like that, or they like to have just the colors. The orange that I was referencing earlier, those guys wanted to have the orange go all the way end to end to the full viewport, and then just do our 1280 for the actual content area. So my default row content width is going to be fixed to the 1280, but the actual row itself will go ahead full width. Within the rows themselves, there will be columns, so you can have up to, I think, 4 or 5 columns, maybe even 6, I forget off the top of my head, in the Beaver Builder page builder. So what this is saying is how much padding do you want. Remember, padding is inside the box like a UPS box, and margin is outside the box. So how much padding do we want in there to buffer our columns? And then beyond that, we're actually going to have columns, and then the columns themselves can have both margin and padding. And then the modules as well, which will be like the text editors or images or whatever we decide to do, those are going to have a 20 pixel margin. Now, I rambled through all that really quickly, but the important thing that you need to know is what each of these things do. So the row is going to be the entire thing. So if we have a 20 pixels of padding on the row, then it's going to come off the outside of the viewport 20 pixels, which is kind of what we want. We don't want the text all the way to the edge, especially on a phone. And then the columns themselves, I like to leave those at 0 because I want those columns touching each other, if there's 3 or 5 or however many, because then inside of those things, like the text area or whatever, I can give those some padding so that there's room around the content inside the module itself. So it would behoove you to get familiar with row, column, module in the Beaver Builder world, just so you'll understand how things are all put together. The other thing that's really slick about this is that you can set these on your breakpoint. So if I scroll to the bottom of this, you see that it's setting up breakpoints at 768 and 992. I literally have never touched those. I've never adjusted those on any site that I've built. Maybe at some point they'll get larger and we'll go to like a 1024 maybe for the medium, but I've always kind of left them as default. If you've ever played with responsive design, I'm sure you've seen the 768 before. It's a really, really common. And then 992 is also a very common breakpoint. So I tend to leave those alone. But going back up to where I was earlier, on this row, we have the padding of the rows set to 20 pixels on desktop. And if I click this, it will then show me what the padding should be on a tablet. And I'm going to make it 20 as well. And if I click it again, it goes down to a cell phone. And on the cell phone, I'm going to make it 20 as well. So now as I cycle through these, it stays at 20 on all three of them, and the margins still stay at 0. And so you can do that for all of these. They all have specific settings, and it'll change them all, as you can see. So you can set all of your margins and padding based on what size device you're looking at. Okay, so that's really all I mess with in here. You can hide all of the page headings, and you can go about that a little bit of a different way. I have it set to no now because I want to create my own headings on this particular site, but you can have them shown. I believe if I say yes, it'll probably change on the front here. It did not change. Let me save it. All right, and then if I refresh, now it's showing. So if just by making that one adjustment, if I go back here into global, just by saying that I want that to show, the default page heading will just show up there always, and it will just show whatever you call your page. So maybe you want that in place. It saves you from having to create headings on all the pages. So we'll just leave that there for now. Okay, so that's it. That's the only other adjustment that I make when I am first building a Beaver Builder theme and plugin combo site. I do appearance, customize, and then I come in here under the drop down. I'll just close this so you can see what you're looking for. Literally every time you come to the front of the site, you're going to be looking for this little Beaver Builder guy. And when you click that, it drops you into the editor, and you can now add rows with different, you can have 6 columns, that's what we were wondering about earlier. You can do left and right sidebars. Like now you can start playing with all the different things that Beaver Builder gives you, as well as these templates. I'm a huge fan of these templates to get things started. But yeah, in general, now you have the ability to start building your pages out, and you've already set up your basic core, most basic settings, and then you can just kind of go from there. Okay.